All right, so welcome back, everybody. I know it's been a couple of months. We had B-sides back in June, and then we had tacos last month. Oh look, my notifications are on. As usual, I've got a little slide deck I put together, sort of some security events since the last time we had a meetup. I didn't go back all the way to the beginning of June, but I went back a little ways so we can talk about some news stories and some upcoming events, and then we'll get into the main topic for tonight. So first off, in security news, as always, we have our dumpster fire of the month. I think everyone can agree that our dumpster fire of the month the last couple of months has been Flock. Dear Lord, what a mess. I'm not even sure where to get started, but there's been all sorts of reports of people abusing this system, all sorts of reports of corporate malfeasance, all sorts of reports of cops doing really charming things like stalking people they just happen to meet, or ex-girlfriends, or Flock refusing to let cities take down their cameras after terminating their contract, Flock saying that anybody who objects to having cameras on them at all times is obviously a terrorist. It's been a really ugly couple of months. It really has. So they have earned their spot in the dumpster, and I hope they stay there. Beyond that, now I don't know the details of this one. This one was back at the end of June. Does anyone remember the yellow key exploit against BitLocker? I know Microsoft got into kind of a pissing match with the person who released this. You remember the details, Kevin? I don't.
It was like Midnight Eclipse was the researcher, right? It was I think you have to have physical access to the device in order to bypass the BitLocker encryption. But you had to use basically like a recovery USB. It was set up and it would bypass and allow you to decrypt the drive.
Okay, but you didn't have to crack the case or anything. It was
No, it was just like plugging a USB.
Great.
Stick in. There was some like exploit code or whatever, but
yeah, I remember it was actually kind of similar to the sticky key Windows login bypass, where you kind of like you use the recovery thing to prompt it in a command prompt, and it automatically gives you privilege and it decrypts it already for you, so then you can just do something in there to get bypassed.
So is it a convenience feature for someone that locks them out, or is it a backdoor?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it depends on the intent.
It depends on the context, right?
Yeah.
But it's been patched now. I'm assuming. Is Microsoft still going toe to toe with the researcher who released it? I hadn't heard anything since the initial, because he said he was going to release a bunch more stuff, right? I'm sorry?
He put out about 3 more since then, including one this month.
Oh, nice. Were they also BitLocker exploits, or was it other Microsoft stuff?
There was a couple other things, but I think the most recent things were Defender. And they had actually patched one, and then they decided they were going to sue him. So he released another one that was related that basically proved they didn't actually fully patch it, and he purposely waited until the day after Patch Tuesday to put it out.
Oh, God, I love spite. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I think the researcher bounced between GitHub to GitLab to their own private forum thing because they just kept getting him taken down. And for whoever.
I mean, they're being polite. They're not like selling the exploits to some
But Microsoft's notorious for this. I mean, they were the worst case in the very beginning. Whenever you tried, like, they didn't have responsible disclosure. Their responsible disclosure was, we're going to sue you and get you arrested now. That was their, thanks for letting us know you're going to jail. Don't collect $200 was Microsoft's thing. Until the whole concept of like, oh, we're going to take security serious and we're going to do, what was it, Bill Gates's security
the
first email.
the October memo.
Yeah, and like all of a sudden they were all like, oh, our researchers are our friends, and now they're just going back to, nah, just kidding, go to jail. Like, it makes no sense. I don't know why they do this all the time, but it's Microsoft.
This researcher feels very much like Sandbox Escaper, which I think was like 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant reverse engineer, but yeah.
Wasn't there another researcher used to work at Microsoft as well that released some stuff and they went to war with her?
I mean, Sandbox Escaper first was releasing exploits, then Microsoft hired her, and then fired, and then, yeah.
Okay, so that was the same person? Okay, yeah.
Aye. All right, well, we'll see if it continues to escalate, I guess. That'll be exciting. This is kind of old news at this point, but I thought it was interesting. Somebody figured out how to leverage Meta's chatbot to do account takeovers on Instagram and I think on Facebook. Basically, they used a VPN, so they appeared to be coming from the same geographic area as the target account, and then told the chatbot, oh, hey, I'm such and such, but my email address changed. Could you add this email address to the account? And then they were able to do a password reset and lock the original owner out.
Didn't this affect a lot of people?
It seemed to hit a bunch of celebrities, yeah. So I don't,
Seems super easy.
yeah, allegedly that particular exploit is patched, but I remain shocked at the number of companies that are giving these LLM chatbots like access to do actual damage because they don't really have safeguards in place.
Do you think that like there's a whole new wave of people trying to use AI into their business? And I personally know a person who signed up to one of those AIs to have like an AI model taking the customer's voicemail.
Mm-hmm.
And is there like exploits to those like chatbots that anybody can just add into their business?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it would depend on what particular model it is and how they've trained it up. But you know, they try to put these guardrails in place, but a lot of them are circumventable. I mean, the storytelling stuff doesn't work so much anymore, right?
Right.
They've gotten a little bit better.
Yeah, but there's still massive holes in it because they aren't really sure how they work or what they're going to do internally. So I wouldn't be surprised to see more of this in the future. There was a really interesting story. Did anyone else see this about doing key distribution via GPS? So there was a field in the GPS spec. So like when you receive GPS signal, right, there's a packet structure to it. And there's a field in there that's basically like a comment field that no one has ever announced that they were using for anything legitimate. But somebody was tracking GPS transmissions over the course of years, and they found out that there were certain events that were correlated with data being transmitted in this comment field. And they eventually figured out that the US military has been using the entire GPS network as key distribution. So, you know, at certain intervals, there would suddenly be a whole bunch of this stuff in everybody's GPS signal, and then it would disappear until the next time there was a key rotation. I think I posted the link in the security news channel, but there was a really cool write-up on how the guy discovered it and how he correlated it to like military activity and stuff happening on the government side to prove what was going on. It's basically every GPS satellite had become a number station. It was pretty cool. A company called Signal Trace wants to add Bluetooth and BLE observation to flock cameras. Once again, our dumpster fire of the month. In this case, what they're doing is they're saying, okay, the flock camera reads the license plate, and then Signal Trace reads all the devices inside of it, so you know who's traveling together. And then if you see that person outside of their car, you still know who it is and what else they're connected to, which is a distressing assault on privacy, but here we are. Speaking of which, the FCC is trying to require telecom providers to gather much more customer information before providing burner phones. So if you go to buy a track phone or a Cricket or a Boost or whatever for cash, they want to legally require telecom companies to collect names, addresses, government ID, all that sort of stuff in a way to kill off anonymous phones. Naturally, they have our best interest at heart. This is just to stop telecom scammers. Really, you don't need to thank them.
Yeah, the FBI, they didn't want to do a round two of producing phones and selling them to underworld
Yeah.
people. They realized how hard it was to actually run a phone manufacturing company.
So much engineering.
Yeah.
Meta has been testing facial recognition features on their pervert glasses, which is great. They're doing some for government customers and apparently some for the normal consumer level stuff. People have reverse engineered the phone app that goes with the glasses and found facial recognition stuff in there. So that's going to be a whole new nightmare of stalking. I don't know if anybody saw the link that I posted earlier today about back to school season, and apparently the new thing that the middle school and high school kids are doing is wearing the meta glasses and trying to provoke reactions from people and pick fights and so on so that they can post it on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. So that's ugly. Meta, of course, insists that this is simply adaptive technology, right? They're trying to make these features available to disabled students who need them, and so you really shouldn't hold them accountable for the fact that they've made this disgusting pervert tool. But here we are. I saw a really interesting article about Papa John's. I thought this was kind of gross but clever. So they have started buying marketing information and purchasing information from companies like Instacart. And the reason why they're doing that is they're building these statistical models of people's shopping habits so they can figure out when you most likely have run out of food in your house, so they should hit you with a pizza ad.
Wow. Okay.
Which is
a long shot though. Like, what is the chances that they're gonna be craving pizza?
yeah, it's I don't always want pizza, and I definitely don't always want that thing Papa John's sells. But it's gotta work on somebody. It's an interesting technique, and I'm sure that sort of thing's happening all the time. I mean, I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago there was an article about Target doing stuff like this, where they were tracking people's purchases, and they got a lot of people in trouble because they figured out that people had just found out that they were pregnant from their purchasing things and started like sending coupons for baby stuff and so on to houses before women had told their husbands and that sort of thing. It was a mess. There's a big article on the facial recognition system at MSG, Madison Square Garden. James Dolan, who owns Madison Square Garden and the Knicks, and probably many pairs of pervert glasses, has apparently built a huge surveillance system in there that tracks basically everybody and where they go and builds profiles of them, and so you can go in and do things like show me a map of all the trans people who are in MSG, and it'll show them the map. It's pretty gross. The article I said did note, however, that the whole thing was disabled for Taylor Swift's wedding. So.
Oh yeah, well,
So
some people are entitled to privacy
yeah.
nowadays.
So that was good. Yeah, most of us are not, but if
Yeah.
you're rich enough, you are. I swear to God, I really am politically fairly moderate, but this shit makes me feel like I'm in the Weather Underground. Like, burn it all down, all of it. All right. There was the OpenAI attack on Hugging Face. I don't really know enough about AI to talk about this. Does anyone want to explain?
So OpenAI basically was running a sandbox test, and they basically gave it some criteria to solve, and it decided the easiest way to get that answer was to not only break out of the sandbox and ignore the rules that they had, but also to commit a crime and hacked into, ironically, another AI company called Hugging Face in order to basically steal proprietary information so that it could learn and have a better understanding how to defeat the challenge. What's kind of crazy is Hugging Face caught it, contacted OpenAI, and they're kind of vague on the whole how they caught it and what ended up happening, but they did announce that they were working together to study and better understand this situation, and tried to downplay it like crazy, but it was a big wake-up call for a lot of the people that have been kind of like advising for stronger regulations around AI and what we can possibly do and trying to do this. They've even quoted it as being the warning shot not to be ignored of AI and the dangers around it. So it basically broke the law. They didn't it didn't say that it didn't or anything. They were like, oh yeah, no, it totally did. And they're just like, what are you gonna do? It's like, okay. So it was it's a weird thing. They're not even pretending like it didn't, and they're like, yeah, this is cool. We're gonna study it, and everybody else is like, this is terrifying as shit. So.
No, I didn't read any of the write-ups on this, so I apologize if this is a dumb question. But does this feel like something that actually happened, or does this feel like OpenAI pumping for their IPO?
So, I've heard it both ways, and they're really vague on it because they don't want to release a lot of this shit, which is also the same thing you would do if you were just trying to, you would basically say like, oh yeah, we don't want to release it because it could be dangerous, but also look how good this is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of.
Yeah, it's
I
like
hear
the
both.
Project Glasswing stuff. We're like, we found all these vulnerabilities. Are
Yeah.
they patched? No. Can you hear about them? Also, no. Also, it's the Northern Lights. It's in my kitchen. I mean, I don't know.
I like all the memes where like it's all the AI model companies and they're like, look, we can do crime too, and like Gemini's like, do crime.
So does this mean I could just hack whatever I want as long as I blame it on?
That's
An
kind
AI
of what I was
assistant.
thinking too. I'm like, that's kind of crazy. I'm like, because you're gonna have people out here, especially like script kiddies that are just like, I don't even need to know the programs anymore. I
Yeah.
just tell this thing that to do it
Yeah.
and ignore prompts.
Quen, go wreck some shit.
Right, and then all you have to do is basically go, oh, I'm a researcher and I told it to not break the law. Weird. Sorry. And it's like, oh, cool, you got away with it. You know what I mean? I don't know. It seems like a big loophole, and honestly, even if it is a PR stunt and it didn't really happen, it will eventually happen.
Yeah.
And they really need to start putting some regulations around this. There has to be accountability to it. Like if you're gonna basically say, hey, our AI is secure and can't be used for nefarious stuff, and then does something nefarious, you shouldn't be allowed to just go, huh, look at that. You know what I mean?
My bad.
Yeah, what a weird thing. It like you have to, if you put the regulations that you're going to be held responsible for anybody that uses your model and it does something illegal. Like you're going to have to pay a fine for it at least. I'm not saying throw the dude in jail. I'm saying you're going to pay for it. And you're going to find that they're actually all of a sudden going to really care about the regulations and things they put around it. So unless that fine's like, hey, you made $7 billion and you had to pay $1 million in fines, they're not going to give a shit. It needs to be proportional.
The SEC special, they call it.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, like I said, on the one hand, I'm very skeptical because I know OpenAI is trying to get ready for their IPO and they're falling behind Anthropic. On the economy side of it, they're all losing staggering amounts of money. So I don't know that it makes that much of a difference, but.
I don't think there's been one that's been profitable yet.
God,
read
no.
about. There
No.
hasn't been a single AI
none of
that's
them are
out there
close.
that's profitable.
No, the whole AI thing is just a way to convert Saudi sovereign wealth fund money into heat. That's
I wasn't expecting that one. But yeah, no, it's weird. And again, yeah, you're right. They're not really disclosing all that stuff, but it is being leveraged as kind of a go-to staple right now of like all the people that have been screaming and holding the signs of like AI's the end of the world that they're putting on TV. They're like, look at it,
Yeah.
look at it.
For example.
For example.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There's all like the idea that the whole thing was sandbox seems a little ridiculous as well. Like a legitimate sandbox implies that there's some like actual why wasn't this thing air gapped?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right, you're paying your
Like-
engineers 7 figures, man. I expect them to be able to do
Right.
like junior network engineer stuff.
Right. Like you wanted to be able to go out and like download any NPM package or whatever. Well, just clone the repository. I mean, you're OpenAI for God's sake. Just clone the repository.
They all keep claiming that it was just a misconfiguration of
Right.
the sandboxes, you
Yeah.
know? Do you guys analyze malware?
We shouldn't have told it the password was infected. It messed everything up. All right. Iran claimed responsibility for a bunch of cyber attacks on water facilities in the Midwest. those of you who've been coming to the meetup for a while might remember Nolan King did a talk for us a couple years ago about doing security in water utilities and what a mess that is, because a lot of these are small, underfunded municipal organizations that don't even really have dedicated security people. I understand that the thing people panic about and feel threatened about when it comes to industrial and OT attacks is the power grid, right? That's what they always make the Hollywood thrillers about, is the power going out. But man, this water stuff scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Like that's, if anything, that's an even bigger soft spot that's protected even worse. But fortunately, we've gutted CISO, so that'll help.
There was a guy in the open source cybersecurity podcast recently who was talking about he goes around to like various water authorities, like teaching them how to handle situations if they get hacked or whatever. And basically the triage situation is we roll it all back to manual processes, because like the civil engineers and other engineers in the area, like they know how to do that. Right. Unfortunately, there are some municipalities that switch their water systems over to like complete IT automation. So they don't even have that possibility. But yeah.
You're also losing a lot of that rollback capability. That's one of those things when it's like, oh, we'll roll back, and be like, to what? And they're like, oh, we'll just use this like pen and paper and all that. But like, how many out of the 50 people that are here actually did that? How many of them actually worked with that pen and paper?
All of those old heads who
Yeah.
took their early retirement package.
Who got the hell out of there when they're like, I'm not learning pivot tables. Fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, it makes sense, but then yeah, you're losing all that rollback knowledge. Like you lose that.
That's
you know
why
what I
this
mean?
guy was going around and like basically doing talks and stuff and teaching people how they could set this up so that in case you need to do, and basically trying to teach them as well, like do not add these things to your IT system. Like these OT systems should be kept separate, they should be kept manual. If you do actually start wanting to add some automation, you have to have the capacity to kill that.
Yeah.
And just go back to manual processes.
Yeah, you have to segment things appropriately.
Yeah.
Remember when I worked for Rich Products, they had two projects that were going simultaneously that, when combined, were like shitty idea of Voltron. One of them was our global networks. I mean, Rich's is a global company. They've got dozens of factories all over the world, and for a long time, those factories were tied together with like point-to-point VPNs, basically. Right? There'd be like a Cisco box in China that was connected to all of our Chinese factories, and then that had a VPN back to headquarters. But that meant that we had all of these individual choke points, right? That being said, the whole thing was architected and was really only understood by one network engineer in our telecom group. So they were like, if something ever happens to him, we're in a lot of trouble. So we need to standardize all this. So they moved all of that to an MPLS network, right? So everything had point-to-point connectivity. We didn't have to maintain VPNs. We didn't have to do anything. Whoever the phone company we worked with was, I think it was Verizon, just built everything out and it worked great, right? The other project that was happening at the same time was they were flattening all the plant networks. So all of the plants had an OT side and an IT side that were segmented, and they were like, no, we need to put all of those on one, as part of the like IP unification. We need to have one LAN per facility, and we'll just put everything on there. So like, you realize this means that if somebody gets ransomwared in like India, it can spread to our plants in Georgia, right? Like Atlanta, not Tbilisi. Like, you're basically building one huge flat home network where everything is a target. Are we at least going to change the passwords on some of our PLCs? What's a PLC? Okay, shit. So I don't know how that all worked out. There was some talk of doing some segmentation, but it was crazy because they're like not recognizing that directly exposing IT systems and OT systems is just like smashing those threat models together and making everything worse. Right? And, you talk to the plant guys, they're like, I don't give it's a freezer. What do I care? But
Didn't Jaguar got hacked? Their whole infrastructure got hacked a few months ago, right? They were off. They couldn't do any production or anything like that.
oh yeah, they were offline for months. They had to take like billions of dollars from the UK government just to keep their employees paid and stay afloat. It was a mess. But I've been in security longer than I want to admit, and it's kind of crazy once you've done this for a long time and you can kind of see the patterns. Like the stuff that we screwed up with individual desktop computers back in the 80s became the same stuff that we screwed up with the client server model in the 90s, became the stuff that we screwed up with cloud computing, became the stuff that we screwed up with mobile computing, and now is the stuff that we're screwing up with OT. We're making the same mistakes over and over and over again. It's so frustrating. Anyway, sorry.
It's a good job, security, though.
Yeah, that it is. That it is. All this artificial intelligence coming around, it ain't working. On that topic, Twitter's algorithm is explicitly tuned to piss people off. I think we all knew that. I stuck an article about that in the security news today. As I mentioned in the channel, I've had a Facebook account since like the days when you needed an EDU address to make an account, like way back in the day. And there is so much just antagonistic slop in my feed now that I don't even want to check my phone in public because I'm afraid people will think that I'm intentionally subscribing to, Congressman Randy Fine or whatever. So gross. And Twitter's doing the same thing. But hey, when you're pissed off, you stay on the site. So I guess it's good for advertising.
You do? I do the opposite. I'm literally just like, I get mad. I'm like, go to start typing. I'm like, oh, I don't actually give a fuck about this guy's opinion. And then I just log off the site. It's just like,
Guess what? I've known you for 9 seconds and enjoyed none of them.
It's like, oh,
I'm not doing homework for you. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of one of the things that came out during one of Google's lawsuits. I don't remember which one was. They had tuned search intentionally to give worse results the first time because they realized that if you search twice, they can show you twice as many ads.
No, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
that was one of the things that started killing Google search. All right. On the subject of law enforcement technology, ICE is buying shock gloves, which is great. Can't wait to see what horrors come from that.
Good news is baseball bats still work against them. Just saying, just in case anybody's wondering.
And Twitch is using stream data to train Amazon AI. So if you have a Twitch account, make sure you hit that opt out because you're opted in automatically, but there's a switch for it.
Take care of it after this.
I have heard rumors, nothing substantiated, that this was implemented over the objections of Twitch's engineers, so they are publicizing as widely as they can that you can opt out of this so that they can point to it and say, everybody opted out, nobody wants this shit, stop. So whether that's the case or not, worth thinking about.
So basically it was a couple executives that had no concept of anything coming in, ruining a platform, and then taking a golden parachute after they've destroyed something that people love?
Yeah, probably.
Got it. Okay,
Again,
great, cool.
yeah.
What a twist.
I don't know if this is still in there. So Google Earth added a feature where you could modify Google Map satellite stuff and make requests like, what would it look like if this building was destroyed by a bomb? And it would just render it for you. I think they may have rolled it back already.
That's probably a good idea.
People pointed out that it's basically like a build your own misinformation kit. God, sometimes I just think about the number of committees that a feature that dumb has to go through. And nobody? Really?
I don't know what the purpose of that would be. Like, what is that purpose?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
get it.
what's the business case for it,
Yeah.
right? Apple has a feature called Hide My Email, where you can set up email aliases, basically.
Oh, that's cool.
But it had a flaw where it revealed your real email address. Anyway.
Good in practice. Good in theory.
Yeah, but they did figure that out apparently, so that's fixed.
Was it like something in the header where I'm assuming it's like the authentication piece or something like that?
It's probably something in the web service on the back end. I don't think they released any details. They just said, we verified that it does this, and then Apple said they fixed it, and we verified that the flaw is gone.
Okay, cool.
So I don't think the details were really published. Did anyone see the news story about the Salamanca School District buying the AI teacher from the company that, as it turns out, makes sex dolls?
It was the Real Dolls
Yeah,
company.
the Real Doll company. apparently has a model that can speak, and they were like, well, we're going to load it with AI so it could be a classroom aid.
So they didn't necessarily phrase the headline as Salamanca sex doll teacher. What I read was AI teacher project discontinued in Salamanca, and then I was like, oh. And I thought it was gonna be like you ever seen the Sheldon, who's just on like an iPad the one day, and he was like just going like on his little
Oh,
robot.
yeah, one of
I thought it
those.
was something like that. And when I clicked, I was at work, and I was like, oh no, what the hell? And I was a bit upset with myself that I immediately recognized that now. So that had some like internal struggle.
That's on me.
Yeah,
It's me
yeah.
problem.
But yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
so I read into it, and the reason why, one, these dolls were going for like 55,000 or something like that. So it was like literally the annual salary of probably more than what a teacher's paid annually, unfortunately. But like you use it for 2 years and you recoup your money, right? They specifically said they wanted the doll, and the reason why the doll was there was so that the children wouldn't be creeped out because they'd still be able to touch it. And that creeped me out to no end. And I was like, okay,
so-
we'll never bring this back to me.
The opposite. Quite
So-
the opposite.
So walk me through this reasoning. The least creepy option is to put a 5-figure sex doll into a middle school classroom. That's the baseline.
That's even worse.
Yeah, that was the other thing too. It wasn't like they did it with like, it was like, you know, high schoolers or like, it was like 5th grade or 4th and 5th graders. It was like, these are children. What are you doing? It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I think they probably figured if they put it as a teenager, one of those kids is going to try to fight. They were just like, better not. Let's just start with the youngest.
I'm just picturing the guys from the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, like the
Oh, when they're melting?
no, like the government guys at the table, like, we've put top men on this project. Top men. Just soup to nuts, terrible. Everything about this.
Oh, that'd be the other follow-up when they eventually went there. It'd be like, Salamanca AI teacher arrested for having sex with student. And it's just like they're pulling out this real doll. I don't know why this is another one of those, who fucking approved this?
Yeah. You're going to love this guy. He came from Google Earth. He had this AI idea. Same idiot, just making his way.
I think someone just wants to write it off. Tax write-offs.
Right.
So,
I got it on a discount. Don't ask why.
There was also, I thought this was cool. I posted this in the Discord when it came out. A browser extension called Knockoff, where if you enable this extension, you go to Amazon and you search for things. It blocks all of these sketchy drop shipped vendors. So you know the stuff is just like random collections of capital letters. It takes all of that out of your search results, which I thought was kind of cool because I know it can be difficult buying things like a teacher in Salamanca.
There's still a search string. So they removed the option to select products that were sold through Amazon, but you could still add that search string. Like I have it saved, I can just add it right to the end of the URL of whatever I'm searching for, and then it'll populate with just things that are actually sold from Amazon.
By Amazon,
Yeah.
nice. So a couple other things that I wanted to mention that didn't make it into the slide. The government's apparently ready to issue cyber letters of marque so that we can hack back.
They're actually
Oh,
doing
God.
it?
Yeah,
So
they're-
they were talking about doing it a while ago, and what's crazy is it's almost an exact copy of the actual text from the letters of marque. They just basically replaced pirate with cyber security. It was
Yeah.
weird.
Just find, replace, and we're done.
Do they get a flag? They have to have a, like, you have to get a flag though. If
I
you-
feel like you get your own. It's
You
like a
get
choose
to
your
make your own
own,
private
choose
truth
your
flag.
own hacking flag. You know, it's gonna be pretty great.
That's nice. Yeah, so the idea for anyone who's on who hasn't seen this is that private corporations, again, now that we've dismantled a lot of our cyber capability, private corporations are going to step into the breach and act as offensive security resources against other nation states and hacker collectives, which raises a whole bunch of issues. I mean, I'm not an expert in military history or military law, but like some dork from Booz Allen Hamilton is trying to hack Moscow from his house.
Yeah.
Is he a military target now? Like,
Yeah.
are they going to drone strike the Cleveland suburbs because some jerks run a Metasploit?
Yeah, so I mean, if you remember, though, it didn't work out great for the pirates when a peace treaty came up, right?
Yeah.
Because then all of a sudden it was like, nah, fuck them guys. And like everybody was against them. And I kind of feel like it's going to be the same thing. I don't think, let's say that we're in war with some country that begins with IR something, whatever,
Yeah.
right?
It's the way to bet, yeah.
Yeah. It's if I'm not a betting man, but I'm gonna just assume it's something like that. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, okay, we're peaceful now. The government's not gonna protect you, but you've been actively at war with these other people, and you're not technically a soldier. You're not technically anything. You're just a guy who works for some company who was like, whose CEO or CTO or whatever was like, hey, we can make extra money if we fucking make John over in security engineering also go fucking earn some paycheck by going after this
Yeah,
company in Iran.
in between purple team tests, why don't you see if you can mess up their water system?
Yeah.
No, man.
But I mean, like, what are you gonna do? They're basically I'm kind of strangely also here for it because the concept of like, let's say there's a hackerspace that's like, I could use some cash, and we also agree with something politically, or we align with some kind of something. Then you could just be like, cool, like we roll, and that's it, and that's what you do. But yeah, at the end of it, you know,
Yeah, it's
a
just
whole
like
country against the hackerspace probably isn't gonna fare well.
no, it's like a whole lasagna of unintended consequences.
Yes.
Yeah, just
But it'd be fun in the
piles on
meantime,
top
you know?
of each other. Yeah, it's gonna be ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the way, like, our military-industrial complex, like, incentivizes us always having an enemy somewhere and the need to, like, mass produce a lot of munitions, all the other stuff, right? So now, like, okay, so you're creating a financial incentive for some private companies to constantly have enemies that they have to go attack, right? Like, what happens if these companies start, like, going after each other? And, I mean, this could
like,
become
where does it
this could
stop?
become very dystopian, like, very
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah, we get into some regional thing, and we've got
Yeah, so, like,
Mandiant
yeah.
on one side of it and Lockheed on
Right,
the
right.
other, right?
Yeah. You ever see the Whitest Kids You Know skit where like there's a merger happening? The guy comes walking in, and he's like, get down, and they're like, he's got a sniper on across the room, and he like shoots a mortar through the glass. He's like, yeah, I killed your guy from accounting, huh? And he's like, now look, I'll do 30%, no more. It's just like, what's going on?
It's gonna, like I said, it's just unsurprising for this administration. It seems like somebody popping off of an idea that they wrote on a Post-it and didn't really think about any of the consequences.
You know what I'm curious about? Like, I'm legitimately curious. You have to apply for it. Who are they going to give them to? That's what I'm really curious about, because this could also be an alternative to basically ensuring that only the people that they approve of are the ones that are able to do the things that they want, whereas everybody else is held criminal. It seems like a way that they'd be able to build a private army on the side, and while the taxpayers flip the bill for it, and they get to pick the target. But because they're operating as their own, they basically have no responsibility. Like, we're not responsible for them. We just say that those are the bad guys. And once they're on the bad guy, we're like, oh, oh man, they committed war crimes. Oh, it's bad. And well, we didn't.
Oh
do
man,
it.
Blackwater's gonna have to change their name again.
Bank of America's not gonna have. They're gonna have to hold a whole new account and everything. It's gonna be really bad. Was it? It was Bank of America that funded them, right? Last time
I
too.
don't remember.
Yeah, it was.
Well, no, if my AI just so happens to break out of the sandbox and like Kremlin, like it's not my fault, you know? But look at how powerful it is.
How did we only get the shitty parts of the cyberpunk dystopian that we promised? Where the hell's my space flight?
If you remember, it was
My
very
cybernetic
depressing.
eyeballs.
Every single cyberpunk is just immediate, like we've given up on society. We're just getting to that point. Then we get to wear the cool techno clothes. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
well, you know, that's good. At least we got something to go with. The other thing I wanted to mention, I put a link to this in the Security News channel as well, but there was a really cool write-up on Wild Relay, which was a NFC attack against Android devices. It's really interesting. The person got it started with a social engineering attack. Somebody claiming to be from a bank convinced the user to install a side-loaded remote access Trojan on their Android phone.
Okay.
They installed the Trojan. The Trojan was then used to install a second payload that was an NFC library. And then they were told to tap their bank card to their phone, and it basically captured the authorization, imitated a retail terminal, sent all the authorization stuff to the attacker, and the attacker was able to use it to purchase something on their end.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it was just a really cool attack chain. So I wanted to mention, like I said, the link is in the Security News channel.
Guy's a dick, but clever.
Yeah. Well, I always tell my students, you know, one of the unexpected, unpleasant side effects of working in security is you find yourself really admiring the ingenuity of people doing terrible things.
Yeah.
Right? Like, man, that's awful. It's really smart, but God, that's terrible. Yeah, happens all the time. All right, a couple of upcoming events for the next couple of months. Infotech Western New York is doing a happy hour tomorrow. I don't know if anybody saw that. It's down in Silo City. Niagara University is doing a cyber event next week, some sort of demo thing. Giselle had posted the link to that in the Discord. A couple of Pay What You Can training classes coming up from Black Hills. One is SOC Core Skills in the Age of AI. One is the Professionally Evil CISSP. Those are both, as I said, Pay What You Can. I think it's all the way down to $0, but the recommended contribution is like $20 or $25 or something to take the course. And these are their legit, like, corporate training courses. These are really, really good training. Just John Strand is very passionate about getting new people into the field, so he offers his company's training at crazy discounts sometimes. Rochester will be back next month for 2600. That'll be on September 4th. B-Sides Northeast PA. I have not been to that one, but that's around Scranton, I think. That'll be on the 12th. Blue Team Con in Chicago. That'll be on the 12th and 13th. I will be there for that. I'm looking forward to that. Just posted, after I made these slides, Code and Coffee, which is a meetup that happens every month over at UB. That's going to be on the 14th next month. Another Black Hills one, Professionally Evil Application Security. That's going to be on the 14th and 15th. Our next meetup will be on the 16th of next month. And then within driving distance, we've got B-Sides Montreal on the 19th and B-Sides Cleveland on the 26th. I haven't been to Cleveland yet since the new organizing committee took it over. I heard it was very good last year, but it might be worth checking out if you want to do something nearby. All right. Does anyone have any other news items or events or anything else that we want to bring up before we get into the demo for the evening? All good. Anybody on the line? We can still hear you, right? Priest, say something.
Something.
There we go. Good. Speaker's not broken.
Yeah, we have me and 12 students right now that are kind of streaming in with me. So.
Oh, welcome, students. Alrighty. So for tonight's demo, we're going to talk about Socrates. Socrates is a new packet and file and log analysis tool that was written by Doug Burks. Doug is my boss. He's the guy who originally wrote Security Onion. And one of the things that we do occasionally, if I could take you inside the game, as the sports commentators say, one of the things that we do occasionally is we look at re-implementing parts of the Security Onion platform using different tools, using different technologies. Like if we were to build this today with all the stuff that's available, what would we use, right? Because it could be a helpful thought exercise. You could find some library that works better than one that we're currently using, that sort of thing. So what this came from originally was Security Onion has what we call an import node, where you can take a packet capture or a log file, feed it into Security Onion, and it will treat it as if it were live network traffic or live log data, right? It'll run it through all the same tools, run it through Suricata, generate metadata from it, cut it all up into PCAPs, right? Do all the stuff that it would do if it was a live network environment. And what Doug wanted to do was say, okay, instead of using something as heavy as the full Security Onion stack, what would it look like if we kind of rethought our assumptions about the import node, right? And tried to build something that can do that can read these files, that can run it through all this stuff and generate metadata and alerts and all that, but do it in a more lightweight fashion. So that was where Socrates came from. Let me close my slides here. And I'm going to open up Firefox. All right. And I'm going to Google real quick because I can't remember how to install this. I'm going to use Podman. All right. So Socrates can run as a Docker container. It can run as a Podman container. You could install it raw on an OS if you really wanted to, if you didn't want to run it in a container. I'm running Fedora on this laptop, which already has Podman on it, so that's what I'm going to use. Let me start up a terminal here. All right, and then we see here the first thing I need to do is create a directory to keep my data in. Did I already do that on this one? Don't see one, so I guess not. So we'll make the directory. All right, so now we have Socrates data right here, right? So that'll store our data for us, and then we need to start Socrates. All right, so we're launching Podman. We're using Podman run. We're telling it to keep my user ID, so it's going to run it as this Matt account on this box. It's going to store its data in Socrates data, that directory that I just created. It's going to run on port 8000, and it's going to pull everything down from Doug's GitHub repo. Now, I don't think I said this while the meeting was up, but Doug actually released Socrates 4, like a brand new update to the platform, this morning. So I haven't really played with it yet. So we're going to go on a journey of learning together and see what's changed and what hasn't. So Socrates is running on localhost 8000. And we see it right here. Welcome to Socrates. So Socrates can analyze a few different things for us. We can import a packet capture into it. We can import log files, so we can import EVTX files, which are Windows event logs. We can import JSON files. We can import CSVs, whatever kind of logs we want to. And we can also import files, so EXEs, DLLs, ELF executables, PDFs, and so on. Depending on what you import, it will evaluate it using a different engine and a different collection of rules. So if you import a packet capture, what it will do is it will take that PCAP file and it will run it through Suricata. Suricata is, for one thing, a signature-based IDS. So if there's anything malicious or suspicious that requires additional investigation in that packet capture, it will generate alerts, and then you'll be able to look at those alerts and dig in and see what's going on. It will also generate metadata about what is in that PCAP file. So the way I usually describe metadata is, at the very least, for every network flow in a packet capture, you get a connection record. You get this IP address, talk to this IP address on this port. This is how much data they exchanged, right? So sort of like NetFlow, if you're familiar with that. Any network flow is going to at least generate that level of logs. But if it's a common protocol, if it's something like HTTP, it's also going to generate an HTTP metadata record. So that would contain things like what is the user agent? What was the status code that was returned by the web server? What was the URI? What was the virtual host, right? Information that is specific to the HTTP protocol. If a file is transferred, it will record metadata about that. What is the MIME type? What is the file name? What is the hash? Right? All of that data gets generated. Now, in a network monitoring platform like SecurityOnion, that metadata is especially useful because you can start doing some statistical and some long tail analysis on that. Like, if I'm recording all the information about remote desktop sessions that are happening in my environment, well, that means I can go in and see what language keyboard people have selected for the different sessions. This actually happened someplace I work. People lost their minds because they realized, wait a minute, we've got like 3 endpoints that we can't find that are all using Chinese language keyboards in RDP. Turned out to be nothing, thankfully. But stuff like that's very helpful when you're aggregating all this data. But even in a smaller environment like this, we'll see it can be really helpful, right? You can see all of the FTP sessions that happened in a PCAP and what accounts they were using and what data they were transferring. So that stuff's all in there. Now, for log files, we use Sigma rules. If you haven't run into Sigma before, Sigma is a platform agnostic detection language. The idea is you write a detection in Sigma, and then you can compile it into whatever query language you need for the platform that you're using. So if you're using, QRadar or Splunk or Elasticsearch or whatever, you have this like YAML syntax detection rule. It compiles into the appropriate query language, and then it runs it against the logs that you've collected. So if you write a Sigma rule that's like, hey, if you see a process creation event and the parent process is winword.exe, that's probably bad, because it means something just launched as a child process of Microsoft Word, which shouldn't be launching programs, generally speaking. And then you compile that and you run it against whatever you're collecting logs with, right? That way you only have to write the detection once, it's detecting the same thing everywhere. There are some wrinkles and nuances I can get into if you really care about that stuff, but that's what's used if you upload a log file. So there's a public repository of Sigma rules at Sigma HQ. It pulls those down and it runs those queries against whatever log files you upload. So if you have a bunch of sysmon log files, it will go in there and check the process creation events and so on and tell you what's going on. And then finally, for binary files or other files, it downloads all the stuff from Yara Forge. Yara is yet another rule analyzer or something like that. But what Yara does is it acts like a very comprehensive pattern matching library. So Yara rules will be things like, okay, if it's a Microsoft Office document and this flag is set this many bytes into the document, that means that it's going to ask the user to enable macros, right? So a Yara rule will say, okay, check this spot in the file with this offset or this offset from this byte or whatever. And if it's positive, then that's probably something suspicious that we should look into, right? So it's a good tool for doing static analysis of unknown files. And that's what Socrates leverages. If you upload a binary, it runs it through all the stuff in Yara, okay? All right, so what does it actually look like in practice? Okay, got it here. We have some samples. I'm just going to use those. So sample PCAP file is right here. It's from malwaretrafficanalysis.net. If you haven't used this site, it's a really awesome site for finding malicious samples. He gets all kinds of cool like C2 samples and stuff like that. It's run by a guy named Brad Duncan. So I'm going to hit go. It will pull that down for me. Start analyzing the traffic. He didn't add hold music, I guess. And what it's doing is it pulled the PCAP down, unzips it, runs it through Suricata to generate the appropriate metadata, the appropriate alerts, breaks all the PCAP up into individual conversations. So when it presents it to us, we have sort of this visual layout telling us what was in that file, right? So we have a search bar up here. We can search for particular things if we want to, and we'll see that as we dig into the file, we'll see some search stuff get automatically put here. And then we have these cards, I think Doug calls them, across the top for individual pieces of information. So in this PCAP altogether, we had 10 network flows. A network flow being defined as a conversation between a particular source port and IP and a particular destination port and IP. So we click on flows here. We see that for every conversation, our source IP was 10.2.3.101, right? So everything in this packet capture is captured from this IP address going out. Looks like this is probably something that Brad detonated in his lab, right? If you're importing real-world PCAPs, they're probably going to be a little messier than this. And then of the conversations that resulted, we have 4 connections to 10.2.3.1. Those are all on port 53, so those are probably DNS queries. We have 3 to 162.241.123.75. Those are on 3 different ports, 31.521, 47.037, and 21. 21 is, check my memory here, is 21's FTP, right? Okay. And then we have 1 conversation apiece. What's that?
I said, yeah, FTP.
Nice, thank you. And then we have 3 more conversations, 1 on port 80 to this 208.95, and then 2 on port 443 to this 142.251 and 142.250, right? So in this PCAP as a whole, we've already split it up into 10 individual network flows. And I just accidentally clicked on that, hang on. All right. So if we open this up, we see we've got some aggregation tables here, and we can use these to dig in further on the stuff that we're interested in. So for example, if we just want to see traffic to port 53, we just click on the 53 and include. We see here it adds it to our query up here. Destination port is 53. We'll see this diagram is updated, so it's only showing the port 53 traffic, and we're only seeing the port 53 information here. These 4 connections, they're all UDP, they're all this source IP, they're coming from these 4 source ports, etc. If we want to get rid of that, we can just click the little X here to take it out of the query, and there we've got our 10 connections again. If we want more information about a particular connection, so say this port 21 connection, that's going to be FTP, we can click on here and we'll get a whole host of information about this network flow, right? How much data was exchanged, whether it was established or if it was one-sided, if nothing ever responded to TCP, how many packets were sent, etc. And we get the payload. So this is the plain text packet capture for this particular network flow. So one of the things that was happening when we imported this was it took that monolithic PCAP and broke it all up into these individual flows for us. So if there's one particular thing we're looking for, right, it makes it a lot easier to find it. If we want the PCAP for just that flow, we can just click download PCAP, right? It'll download it as just a regular standard PCAP. And then we see here, it's all FTP. So this is just that one conversation has already been broken out for us, right? So it makes it super easy. If we want to see the hex dump for it, we can do that as well, right? It'll give us the back and forth and the flags and all that. We can open up individual ones, or we can expand them all if we want to see the actual hacks for all of this stuff. I will admit, I may be a bad incident responder. I'm not great at just reading hacks, so I tend to stick with the transcript view. Right, so we can see everything that's happening here. So that's our most basic function, right? We're taking the PCAP, we're breaking it up into all these individual flows. But additionally, we get the other metadata about these connections. So if we want to see, for example, the information about the HTTP session that's in here. The Sankey is updated. We see we've got a connection from that source IP to this on port 80. We have these aggregation tables here. And then we have information about the HTTP connection, right? 10.23101 on this source port was talking to 208.95.112.1 on this destination port. It was an HTTP GET to the host ipapi.com to this URL, and it returned a 200. So this was a valid, accepted HTTP connection. And all of that metadata is down here as well, along with, again, the payload. So the PCAP that we split out is right here as well. So we can go in and see what exactly it looked like on the wire. And it does this for any protocol that it recognizes. It does the same thing for FTP, right? We have 10 FTP connections. It gives us all of the FTP commands that were used in the PCAP, all of the data that was sent, all of this information, right? What was the reply from the FTP server? And then we can break into these individually and again, see all the FTP details, see the transcript, right? So all of this info is all set up for us, ready to be used for the investigation. If we want file information, we can get information about the files that were exchanged. So it looks like this is a text file, right? We'll open this up here. Yes, it's file. There's the MD5, there's the SHA-1. We can click on this, open it up in VirusTotal if we want to see if that hash matches anything. And these are all customizable. If there's other stuff that you want to add, you absolutely can. Right? You can check stuff in Shodan, VirusTotal, whatever. Here's all the metadata about the file. Once again, here's the transcript. Looks like it was somebody's Thunderbird contact list being exported. So we've got all the stuff right here ready to use. And then finally, for network alerts, this is all of the stuff that Suricata noticed. So it's seeing someone's doing a ip.api.com check. It's seeing Agent Tesla exfiltration via FTP. It's seeing C2. It's seeing that IP lookup for IP API, and the same thing there, right? So it's seeing all this stuff in the traffic. We can open this up and we can see information about the alert. What's the name of the signature? What is what we call the AI summary? So we've generated, as part of Security Onion and has been, what's the word I'm looking for? Handed off, I guess, to Socrates. We have plain English summaries of what all these different detection rules do that are in the Emerging Threats Open Rule Set. So it's telling you, okay, well, this is what this rule does. This is how it works. This is why you might care. This is the plain text of the rule. So if you know how to write Suricata rules, right, this will tell you why it's firing. And then here we have a playbook. So for each of these rules, there's an investigation playbook. If you get this alert, this is why you might care, right? What was the exact query? Does this host normally query this? What process initiated this? What IP address did it resolve to, et cetera? So if it's a rule that you haven't used before, or if you're a junior analyst, you're just figuring this stuff out, this will give you, 10 questions to ask that will shed more light on why this rule fired, why it's important, what direction you should go in when you're investigating it. All right? And again, it gives you the transcript. This is the part of the network traffic that actually generated the alert, just seeing ipapi.com, right? Or here we've got a agent Tesla exfil via FTP, all the same stuff, all the alert details, the playbook, and then the FTP session that generated the alert. Right? So the idea here is we can take, we have no way to hook this to a tap or a span port. I mean, this is not intended to be like a live network traffic tool. But if you have a firewall that could generate PCAP, and most of them can, right? This can be a really good tool for taking that PCAP, breaking it all apart, seeing what's in there, seeing what's talking to what, helping out your friends in network engineering to explain, you know, why they're seeing something weird or what's going on, seeing if there's any malicious traffic in there. Okay. If we go back to the home screen here, we could try a log file. As I mentioned, the log file will, rather than using those Suricata rules, it will use Sigma alerts. So you see the interface looks a little bit smaller here. But we just fed in a Sysmon log. For those who haven't used Sysmon before, Sysmon is a sort of a telemetry logging solution for Windows. So normal Windows logs are stuff like this service started, right? Stuff that's sort of higher level. What Sysmon does is it says stuff like, you know, this process launched, or this DNS query was made, or this executable wrote a file, like lower level operating system sort of stuff. So what we did here was we imported one of these Sysmon log files. It's telling us, okay, we've got some uncommon parent processes, we've got some uncommon command line parameters. If we open this up, it tells us, this one was uncommon command line parameter. We have a command line of C Windows System32 servicehost.exe. The parent command line was something on the desktop, info.rar/jjs.exe, so something they downloaded, I guess, right? And then it breaks it all apart. It gives us the information about the execution, what account it was launched under, all of the file information, all of the information from the log, the information from the Sigma rule, along with a summary of why exactly it matters. Everything gets mapped onto MITRE, and then we had sort of a baseline playbook, right? The Sigma playbooks are not as extensive as the Suricata ones. So this one basically just says, is anything else broken? Probably, but.
You're using Windows.
Yeah, right. So I recommended this to Kyle a while back, an earlier version of Socrates, because he was capturing traffic from his honeypot, and he wanted to see how exactly people were attacking it. And I said, well, if you do a packet capture, if you do like a TCP dump on that connection, and then you feed it into this, it will take all of those attacks, break them up for you, and allow you to dig into them and see what the different conversations are, what techniques people are using, what gets flagged in Suricata and what doesn't, right? All that sort of stuff. So this is a really good tool for doing that kind of forensic work. As I mentioned, it's a really good tool for if you have network equipment that can produce PCAPs, like a Juniper firewall or a Cisco device, something like that, and you can use it for troubleshooting. It's super handy for that. I'm really looking forward to the first time I get to use this for CTFs, because any CTF that has a PCAP challenge just got way easier because I don't have to run a whole security onion VM anymore. Yeah, I mean, that's basically the idea. You can run this in a container, you can analyze PCAPs, you can analyze log files, you can analyze binaries, figure out what's malicious in there, and sort of dig in and start manipulating the data. All right. Any questions? Anything you want to see? Anything you want me to click on?
So does it have the ability to tell you if processes were like halted or paused or any of that stuff? Like, would it be able to dig into like, not just this sub-process launched, but would it be like, it attempted to launch and it failed and all that other stuff? Or is that just kind of indicative of whatever that's caught in the Sysmon?
Yeah, it's going to depend what's in the log file.
Okay.
So with Sysmon, you generate a configuration file to tell it what to record and what not to record. By default, it will try to record just about everything. If you're running it in an enterprise, that gets very unwieldy because it's recording stuff like every time your web browser writes a cache file, right? It records a file creation or deletion or modification event. Or every time any of the system housekeeping happens on the back end, those processes launch and turn off, and it can get kind of chatty. There are some very good baseline sysmon configurations out there. Swift on Security has one. That one's a few years out of date now. Olaf Hartung has one. Our friends at the NSA have published a couple that are up on the NSA GitHub. Your tax dollars at work, right? They work pretty well.
Ignore this executable.
Yeah. It's Salamanca.exe.
Poor Salamanca.
May they live in infamy. But you can, if you're in an environment where you need to, you can set it up to do process logging for process creations, process terminations, all kinds of stuff, right?
Cool.
You probably, if you're going to do that, you probably want to have different configurations for different classes of endpoint. And I'm saying classes of endpoint both in terms of what data is stored on them, how big of a target is it? Is this one of your crown jewels? And also how active is it? Because if you're doing this logging on a file server, it's going to have a very different profile than if you're doing this logging on a domain controller, right? So there's going to be some tuning required to figure out, how do I capture, you'll never get everything you want, but how do I capture most of what I need without exhausting all my disk space with these log files? Another cool thing about Sysmon is that because it logs everything in standard Windows event log format, you can use what's called Windows event forwarding with it. This is an awesome feature that's built into Windows that Microsoft does not promote at all, and I don't know why. But with no additional software and no additional licensing and just using group policy, you can have all of the endpoints in your domain forward whatever logs you want to one central collector. So you can deploy Sysmon and say, I want all of the process execution events to be sent to this collector. And it will just do it. It'll set it all up via group policy and just start forwarding them for you. It's awesome. Don't know why they don't make a bigger deal about that. But then you can take them from there and push them into something like full Security Onion, or if you just have a subset of them you want to look at, you can push them into Socrates and start breaking that stuff apart as well. There's a ton of awesome telemetry in Windows, and for some reason most people never turn any of it on, but it's pretty cool. They've actually even started including Sysmon by default, I think, with Windows 11, which is pretty neat. Any other questions? Anything else I can answer?
This is just free? All of it's free?
Yeah. I know. Why do you pay for stuff?
I'm just kind of like, between the Security Onion, which I just started messing with last week. It's been here the entire time, and I just finally logged in. I'm like, holy shit, this is really cool. And then I even showed Taylor, I'm like, yo, come here, look at this, you gotta see this. But then the guy who made that also made this.
Mm-hmm.
Is he a trust fund? How does he make money? I don't understand.
So I'll give you the capsule description, right? So Security Onion, he started as an open source project in 2008. And his goal was to make a defensive Linux distribution that was like the flip side of what is now Kali, at the time Backtrack Linux, right? Backtrack came out and it had all of these offensive security tools, and they were all already configured and ready to go. And he was like, there needs to be a defensive version of this, because back then, if you wanted to run like Snort, you had to download the source code and compile it, set it all up yourself. It was a giant pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So he was like, I want to make something that's just an ISO, you install it on a machine, everything's ready to go, right? So that was where Security Onion started. And then after a few years, he started getting people who were saying like, hey, listen, I love Security Onion, it's great. Where can I send people for training? Or hey, I love it's fantastic, but I can't deploy free software in my enterprise without a support contract. That's just part of our policy,
Right.
right? So he started Security Onion Solutions, which is who I work for. And we do all of the commercial support and training, and we sell preloaded servers and all that stuff, all based around Security Onion, right?
That's cool.
And then we take the money and we pay our developers to keep making the software better.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of the classic like Red Hat style free software model, right?
Just with the
Yeah, we give
so-
away the product, but if you want help with it, that's what we're here for. And we have customers who buy support contracts just to support the project, and we never hear from them. It's kind of cool.
Nice.
Um,
So you sell a printer and ink.
Yeah, right. Same idea. All right, we give away the razor handle and sell the blades. So that's, and then, like I said, about a year ago, Doug started playing around with, well, what would it look like if we sort of re-engineered our import node from first principles? So if you look here at the bottom, there's this little link that says, hey, do you need more advanced functionality? If you click on that, say, okay, Socrates can do all this stuff. Security Onion can do all this stuff. So if you do a full Security Onion deployment, and then if you're an enterprise, we have a paid option called Security Onion Pro that does things like FIPS and STIG compliance for our government customers, has a full API, has a external notification. So if you're using a ticketing system like Jira or something, you can forward your alerts into it, right? This is all stuff that is part of the paid product, but it's all stuff that's really designed to integrate with the rest of your enterprise security stack. Like, it's not stuff that home labs really need. It's stuff that, like, if you're a big enterprise, you might find helpful.
This is really cool.
Yeah, it's a cool tool. I mean, Doug worked at Mandiant for a long time. He was like one of the original Mandiant guys, and he's got a very long blue team resume. And when he makes this stuff, I mean, our whole developer team is ex-blue teamers. So we're all just like, okay, what was the tool that we wanted?
Right.
Right? How is it actually going to work during an investigation? Because a lot of security companies, they have developers who've never really done this kind of work. So they'll make features that look cool, but they don't help, right? They're not good for investigating because they're being designed by people who've never investigated.
Yeah, I've seen some of those.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, how many case management tools have you seen that are obviously just a help desk ticketing app that somebody put the word cyber on top of, right? It's a whole different job, but they treat it the same way because a ticket is a ticket, right?
I've seen a lot of the web ones. I'm not gonna name drop, but like there was one that was like super fancy and it showed like this overlaying bubble and this matrix of all this stuff. And I was like, that was just a link. You could just click that and it would get me like, this is actually harder to read than just that, but it looks cool as shit.
Yeah.
Thanks for the GIF. that was cool. The animation was. I like the fade in, but can I also just get the list of the things I need, please? That'd be great.
This does also have some cosmetic features. So, for example, if you type 31337, see if that. Oh, he took it out in this version. Damn. He used to turn on the hacker theme.
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
Sold. What was the 1337?
It was, if you typed elite, it would turn this on.
Oh,
But
okay.
in version 4, he added a bunch of keyboard shortcuts. So I think he must have sacrificed that one. All right, so there's a bunch of themes. There we go. Amber CRT.
Now you just got to install it on a wristwatch. This boy.
I was trying to convince him to do the hot dog stand theme from Windows 3.1, but he wouldn't go for it.
No more hot dogs, man. No more hot dog anything.
Oh, CGA, I like that.
Oh, oh my.
That's a keeper. All right.
What did he write all this in? Like,
What's it written in?
Yeah, what's the stack?
That's a great question. I don't know. Let's see if we can. Python mostly looks like.
So JavaScript for the front end. I'm just glad it's not like NPM and NPM.
Don't forget about the 0.6% other language.
Yeah. It's non-caking agents, like shredded cheese. You know,
Don't worry about that.
A little bit of
It's like
tapioca
that
starch.
yellow dye number 6 or something.
Yeah. This little guy. Don't worry about this little guy. Now, one other thing that's kind of cool, if I can remember the name of it. There's a website called Killer Coda. I don't know if you've seen this, but basically it allows you to run containers in their environment for I think an hour for the unpaid version.
Is it like a cap per day? Like an hour per day?
I think it runs for an hour and then shuts off, but you can turn it back on if you want to. And I find Socrates in here. Yeah, I don't think I have any of my authentication stuff on this laptop, but you can go in there and just launch a demo Docker container in Killer Coda.
Oh, which is kind of perfect if you're just using a static PCAP or something. You can just kind of look at it.
Right, just
real
spin
quick.
it up, throw it in there, and take a look. So if you're in an environment where you don't have, Podman or Docker or whatever on your local machine, you can always do it through this as well.
Like if you worked for like a bank or something.
Just, to pull an example out of the air.
Yeah, out of the area.
Yeah.
It was actually kind of like, I wonder if our proxy blocks this.
I
It's a
think
bank's proxy. There's some random bank's proxy blocks this.
yeah, let's call it N and U.
And
Bank.
then that works.
Bank. Right. And free accounts are limited to 60 minutes of usage, but if you just need it for something quick, like a CTF or whatever, that should work fine.
That's cool.
All right. Any other questions? Anything else you want to see?
I'm gonna have a lot of questions when I get done messing with this.
That's
There's
all right.
what was it? The Try Hack Me had the secret PCAP challenge. Which was that? It was during during Christmas. You know how they have the side quests.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, one of them was all about the PCAP heavy, and I struggle with it a little bit. And I'm thinking about going back and grabbing this and using it and see how much easier it would have been on my life if I would. I didn't even finish it. You finished it though, didn't
Yeah,
you?
usually those ones you have to slice a file out of the PCAP and pull keys and re-upload keys after you find them, and yeah.
I like the ones where it's like a Wi-Fi one, and you have to figure out the negotiation passphrase and all that. I'm just going in here and seeing if I can, because I know I was doing some stuff with those Sunday CTF sessions. So babysomething.pcap. I think that was from one of those. That was from our friends at Meta CTF. So we'll upload that in there. Also gonna change it back to the regular theme, man. That CGA is killing me.
Yeah, that was the. I liked the little background though. They had that very hackers boot up movie
sort of plasma
Yeah.
shifting. Yeah.
Whoa. Active matrix.
All right, so this was apparently a very simple PCAP. So it's localhost talking to 10.10.02 on port 54321, which is apparently an HTTP session. So if I go in there and see it's getting babyshark.local, the metactf bot is the user agent. If I open it up, there you go, there's my transcript. Oh, that's so there's my flag.
Nailed it.
Oh, wait, I think I've seen this, but it was in Wireshark instead.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I still had the PCAP in my downloads directory, so that's why I just grabbed it.
This must have been like, show us you know how Wireshark works.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This was one of the like intro level skill bit ones.
It's cool though.
Yeah. But I know I've had plenty of times where I've done more complicated CTFs and there's like a million different network flows going on and you have to find something weird. So I'm looking forward to putting those through this. It'll be fun. All right. Any other questions? Anybody on the line?
Nope, I think Priest did a drop off.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. Oh my goodness. All right. All right, I think we're wrapping up for tonight. Thanks for coming, guys.
Oops.
Oh, you're too kind. Oh, shucks.
Lovely, lovely.